Today, we're going to get to do something very cool. You're going to get to see what's inside of this box. Now, I know you probably already seen the title and the description of this video, but just pretend you don't know. Pretend you have no clue what's in this box and that it's going to be an amazing surprise. Wow. Lots of other cool stuff that's not even in the box in this video, so let's have a good time. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here on my channel. I'm super excited to do this. This is going to be a very different video from the videos that I usually do on my channel, which if you're new here because you're interested in the comic books, we'll get to those in a second, but no, on my channel here, normally I do album reactions to full albums. Sometimes I'll do individual songs, but I really do, all sorts of crazy things. But we'll get to the comic books in a second, and I will include timestamps in the description if you want to click around, so just, know that if you don't want to listen to me ramble a bit at the beginning here. But as I said, this is something completely different for me. I'm very excited. Only one other time on my channel have I recorded something that with an additional camera, like this overhead camera that I'm going to turn on when we actually start looking at stuff in a bit here. And that was when I was doing my top 12 albums of the decade, that decade being from 2010 to 2020. I released a bunch of big series of videos, one of those videos being the albums that I thought had the best artwork to come out in that decade. And so I went through and showed all the CDs and maybe even one or two vinyl, I can't remember. But I showed all the CDs and the artwork, talked about them, talked about the artists and all sorts of things. And I have a really cool video on my channel. So if that sounds cool to you, go check that out. You can look it up. I think if you just search on my channel, which I think you can do on YouTube, just search for album artwork and it'll pop up. If not, it's in my giant playlist of all my top 12 albums of the decade from 2010 to 2020 on my channel. I think I have a playlist for that. So check that out if that sounds interesting. But yeah, I'm super excited to do this. The reason I decided to do this in the first place was right now, at this exact moment in time, real time for me, which it is Tuesday night on, I don't know, February whatevereth, I was scheduled to be recording my reaction to Metallica's Master of Puppets with my friend Chris. I'm so excited. I'm going through some of the early Metallica albums here on my channel, for listening to them for the very first time, reacting to them, talking about them with one of my good friends, Chris. And we're doing that all to lead up to the release of 72 Seasons on April 14th. I'm not sure when we're going to actually record it, but that's when the album is released. And so that was what I was supposed to be doing now. However, Chris came up with a very bad cold. I think he said he has like adult RSV or something like that. But he wasn't able to make it. His throat hurt. He wasn't in any condition whatsoever to record, and I told him that's absolutely fine. And so one of the things that I was planning on doing in my Master of Puppets video, or maybe the And Justice for All one, I wasn't sure exactly, but one of the things I was going to do was look for my Metallica comic book, which I know I have somewhere in this box here. And so earlier today, I sat down and I was going to start to go through this box. And actually, I did start going through this box. There's a few other things in there that I'll show too, just because I might as well. But when I got to the comic books, I didn't realize I had such a big stack, and I didn't realize they were as awesome as they were. And I went through about 6 of them or so, and I was just looking at them thinking, man, this is really cool. And I thought, I should stop and record a video of this. And I've been thinking about it all day, and I think this is the best way for me to do it with the overhead camera, like I said, and everything. So I'm super excited to get to that. But first, we unfortunately have to start this video off on a somber note, even more than my friend Chris being sick. So I wish you well, Chris, of course. But this video is being brought to you in the memory of one of the pieces of my set that I've had here on my channel for several years now. And that is this. Can you see it? That is, there you go. That is this. Come on. I want you guys to be able to see it. That is this old radio that I've had sitting on my shelf up here where this candle is that I forgot to light up there. It's just an electric candle. This has sat up there, and you can see it in the corner of many of my videos. Sometimes I have my camera set so that you don't really see this shelf and above, but sometimes I do. With my new Aki webcam that I got halfway through last year, you can see a much wider view of my set and everything. But this guy, unfortunately, I had moved it when Chris came over for us to do the first Metallica reaction to Ride the Lightning. I had taken this off my shelf up here and put it on a shelf off to the side. And we had some flooding here a couple of days ago where I live in Nebraska. Not bad at all. Not as bad as, no one's dying, nothing like that. Unfortunately, just the way our house is and our foundation and everything, we had some water come into the basement, which is where I use the space I use to film all my videos. And I have a big shelf with all my anime and a bunch of really cool old records and other things. And a bunch of things got wet. And so it was a big, bad day. We had a lot of time spent, hours spent vacuuming water off the floor and all this stuff. Anyway, it was not the best of times. But this got moved in the process of doing that. And the shelf that it was set on got bumped by someone earlier today. And this fell off. And the knob here was identical to this knob. There you can see this knob. There was an identical one over here. This fell off the shelf like this. Smack. Cracked. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. My camera doesn't like to focus. There's all sorts of scratches here and stuff. Anyway, it doesn't matter to you. But I got really frustrated and mad at the time, and I threw this in the garbage. And since then, I went and got it, and I was like, if I'm going to throw it away, I should show it off, talk about it in one video. And honestly, I'm going to probably weenie out and keep it anyway and just throw it on a shelf. It's not like it's super broken or anything, but it is an old airline. It is an old tube amp. You can see the tubes in the back here. Well, anyway, it's hard to show it off, and I could use this camera, but I don't want to mess around with that, so I thought for a fun little experiment, we'd plug it in and try it. It used to work. It obviously sounded not the best. There's lots of cobwebs on here. Maybe not the super most undangerous thing in the world, but let's unplug this guy. Plug this guy in, and we'll just see. If this will turn on. Okay, that's the tuner.
And we're putting the pressure on, and they're feeling it.
Good. I have heard that the people on the other side have become very, very vocal and all of a sudden
very interesting
cash flush on sending people to stop people like you. So you must
That
be.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah, you must be onto something.
So that's one channel. Okay, so for whatever reason, my camcorder stops recording at a certain point, and I think it might have been because this was plugged in and something funky was going on. I'm not too sure, but after I lost the video feed, I noticed it, thank goodness. But I did find on the bottom there is a sticker here that says Ward's Airline Radio, model 04BR-511A. And yeah, so this apparently was from I would guess, Montgomery Ward, since it says Ward's Airline Radio. So, yeah, very cool. Very interesting. And, I'm disappointed that it fell off and busted. The other knob was perfect. Was really great. I'm pretty sure this is Bakelite, which is something old radios used to be made out of, which made it even cooler. When I did turn it on, you could see the tubes in the back. I would have tried to show you, but it wasn't. But they were lighting up. It took them a little while to gear up, which is what happens with the old tube, appliances and whatnot. So, yeah. But so this video is being brought to you by this old radio. And for now, I'm just going to set it over here off to the side. Get it out of the way. Okay, so that was really awesome and fun, and I didn't realize that was going to work, so that was a nice surprise to me. But let's get through with that, and let's talk about what's in this box here. Now, before we start this, I've got to get my camera going, so just give me 1 second to do that and finagle this. Okay, so I've got this camera going up here. Hello. I wonder if I should have my sleeves down. Would that make it easier? No, probably more distracting. Sorry, you're going to have to look at my hairy arms in this video, but whatever. I pointed it out, so now I can't be self-conscious about it. Anyway, before we get into looking at these, I just want to give the really quick description of how I acquired these comic books. So my family lives in a rural area of Nebraska in the middle of the U.S., and it is very common for us here to have auctions in the area. A little bit less so now in terms of auctions in a specific area, like at a location where you go to someone's house if they're having like an estate sale or something like that, or if you go to just an auction barn or an auction house or a yard or somewhere where an auction company has a space rented where they bring a bunch of stuff, and then you sit and you watch the auctioneer and you bid on things. You get a number at the beginning, you bid on things, and everything you buy gets added basically to your bill, and then at the end of the night you go and you pay. And when I was slightly younger, I think probably around somewhere in high school age, every year we have an auction in the little town where I'm from, Prague, Nebraska. We just call it the Prague Consignment Auction, and I have bought so many cool things there over the years, so many really interesting and different things, and things I've shown off in videos, things I just have sitting around, things I have in my room, some things I have in storage because they were just too cool to pass up, but I don't have a place to have them out here displayed. But the very first thing I ever bought at an auction are these comic books that we're going to be looking at, and so that's really cool. They make them really special to me. I remember sitting in the chair when the auctioneer was going through, and I had known that they were sitting on a pile on this table. And they actually had them split up into two piles. Now, if you're an auction goer at all like me, you'll know that a lot of times auction companies will try to split things up into different sections and sell them so that they try to get as much money as possible, which absolutely makes sense, and I get it. I don't hold anything against the auctioneers for that, but as a person bidding, you always want to try to get things for as cheap as possible. And it was getting a little bit more towards the end of the auction, and I was in a side room, actually, where they were doing various things on the side compared to the main large area in the big hall where they do a majority of the items. And so I was sitting in a chair in a room with a bunch of other people, and no one was really bidding on anything. So when they got to the comics, they took both stacks and they put them on one stack, and they said, who wants this? You know, we'll start the bidding at $2.50. That was what they always start the bidding on. It never goes down below that. And no one bid on them. They started it, I believe, at 10. No one bid on them. They went down to 5. No one bid on it. They went $2.50. I held up my hand, and I don't think at that time I even had a number specifically, but I had memorized my father's number, my dad's number. And so I was the only person that bid. I got this whole stack of comic books for $2.50. They asked me my number. I told them. They added it to the queue. I gave my dad $2.50 at the end of the night. Bada boom, bada bing. I have this really cool box full of really, really, really awesome comic books. So let's get into the box. One thing that I do think is interesting to say is that I have not looked in this box fully until just earlier today a little bit. I looked through the top few things, and then, like I said, I stopped because I thought it'd be fun to film this reaction. But when I did open this, I had totally forgotten the few things that I put in here, and I do think that you guys are going to find this interesting as well. So I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to keep the box actually over here on this table, and I'm going to go through things and hold them up, and then what I'll do in the video is I will switch from this camera, me talking to you, or this camera up here with my hands that you'll be able to see. Now, I will point out I have a blanket here against this this area here. Hold on, let me sync. 3, 2, 1. That will help a lot. But I have a blanket here that is the kind that, you know, if you move, I probably shouldn't use a blanket like this, but hopefully it won't be too distracting. We'll see what happens. So the first thing in this box that I want to pull out is this awesome, this has nothing to do with those, but this is something I acquired later in years. This is a G-Fan magazine, Godzilla magazine. So this is an example of how we'll look at the comic books when we get to those in a minute. But yeah, this is just a really cool Godzilla magazine. It was, I believe, quarterly. It's really neat in here. It talks about different things, shows behind the scenes of footage of how they shot some of this stuff. Look at, there's Godzilla walking around in his costume. Just some different really cool things. And so, yeah. I just wanted to point that out. I think that's really cool. I think it's in pretty good shape. And this is the first thing that was sitting on top of the box when I opened it. So I should have a place to put this stuff off to the side. We'll just move them over here for now. That's out of frame of both things, so I'll just create like a little stack over here. Then the next few things we had, I was very excited to see. And that is these Metal Edge magazines. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Metal Edge used to be in my opinion, the best metal magazine. And if anyone knows of any awesome metal magazines that are still going today, let me know. I would love to subscribe to one of those. I know there's a few of them around, but I think most of them are in Europe, where metal is a lot more popular than it is here in the United States. But I used to subscribe to Metal Edge when I was in high school, and I got a subscription, I can't say exactly what year, I would guess probably 2005 or 2004. And then I kept my subscription until the magazine ended in 2009. Yeah, and so these are the last few issues. We have In the Moment, oh, here, I can do it like this. We have In This Moment on the cover. And on the back we have some guitar, Kerry King, whoever that is. Then I have the band ISIS, which I specifically remember this being, an interesting thing that was their name. But then I believe this was all well before ISIS, the terrorist group, became like a household name. Because I believe there's also a group called ISIS in one of the Kojima Metal Gear games. But anyway, yeah, we also got Hollywood Undead, the worst band in America. Yes, there's an article in here about Hollywood Undead, and it is hilarious, where they basically just bash Hollywood Undead. Yeah, I remember reading this so well. I mean, I'm not well, but like I remember reading this and being like, wow, this is a crazy article. So anyway, that's that issue. Then we have Rob Halford here. And then, look at this. Remember, I was originally doing this to find my Metallica comic book to use for my Master of Puppets video. Look at this. This is a Metallica Metal Edge. Really cool. This was when they were having Death Magnetic come out. Now you'll see right here, their bass player, whose name is Robert, I believe, he's saying free CD inside. So check this out. We got a free CD in here. Now I opened and looked at all of these, but for quite a while at the end of their career here, Metal Edge as a magazine would include a CD, a free CD with a compilation of different sort of metal artists, and you could win a contest to be on there every month. It was really awesome. And I really looked forward to getting these CDs and listening to them every month. So, but the Metallica one is also cool because I opened it and look, I found this. First of all, In Flames on tour here for Sense of Purpose, which this is one of my favorite metal bands of all time, In Flames. But there's an awesome Metallica poster in here that I never ripped out. Here's Lars and Robert, and here's James and Kirk. No, sorry. This is James and Robert, and Kirk and Lars. So, isn't that kind of neat? I debated about ripping it out. The other side, I believe, is Lordi. Or possibly Guar. One of those two. But I just thought this was really neat and very fortuitous, and I will show this again in my video for Master of Puppets. But those are the things that were on top in this box. Okay, so now we're going to be getting to the comic books. And I think the best way to do this is to go through one by one. I don't think it's going to do much good to show the inside of the comic book very much, but I will do it to show you the artwork of some of the more special ones, I think, in my opinion. We have a pretty big stack to go through, so I think it makes most sense to just look at maybe the fronts, the back, read a little bit of stuff that's on the front and whatnot. I will say, if any of these seem really, really cool to you, I was looking up the value of some of them on eBay earlier, and they aren't ridiculously expensive. I looked up some of them, and they were like, one was listed for like $59.99, but that same exact one was listed also for like $15.99. So if any of these seem really interesting and you're a collector of stuff from these bands, I would recommend looking it up and seeing if you can get your own copy. Obviously, I'm the luckiest human being on the planet to get all of these for just $2.50, but with all that being said, let's get into the first one, which I haven't changed the order of these at all. I looked through about the first 4 of these, or 5 or so, like I said, and then I was like, I gotta make a video out of this. So the very first one we have Queen, right? So cool. I'm not a huge fan of Queen. However, I absolutely respect Queen, and I think it's really awesome. And if you look at the cover here, this is just so cool, right? That is just so cool. So I'll try to like zoom in on certain things. Not zoom in, I'm like lifting it, but I think my camera should auto adjust. So this is Hard Rock, Queen, Night at the Opera, and this is Revolutionary Comics. Unauthorized and proud of it, it says here. From December, must be issue 9, or maybe it must be issue 9, December. $2.50 originally in USA, $3 in Canada. Really neat. On the back here we have other revolutionary comics. We have a U2 one, Queen, Elvis Presley. We have a baseball, Marky Mark. That's kind of interesting. Different things here. Football, you know, whatever. Maybe Muhammad Ali or something in there. So that's very cool. I'll show you an example of the artwork here. I mean, you can see it's like legitimately just a comic book. Very cool. Goes through a little story. There's always a little bit of a thing at the end here. Ooh, got some adult material in there. I'm going to have to actually blur some of that. Patrick, when you're editing, remember to blur some of this out. So they're definitely more adult comic books along the lines of, you know, Image Comics or something like that. Certainly no Disney and stuff. But so there's Queen. Very cool, very interesting. That was one I looked up, and it was the one that was listed for about $56.99, I think, but then there was also copies for like $15 or so, and you probably could find them cheaper if you were looking. And I also noticed that you could search for like rock and roll comic books or metal comic books as a lot on eBay, and there would be like 3, 4, 5, or even 6 all sold together. So look that up if you're interested in these. Second one we have here is The Doors. Now, if you'll look up here, you'll notice this says featuring Jim Morrison. Very cool. I do enjoy The Doors, but they definitely make music from a time when almost every song faded out. And if you're a fan of my channel here, you'll know I absolutely cannot stand when songs fade out. So, you know, that is what it is. But pretty much the same thing. You can see the artwork here is much, much more simplified. But there's also some really cool drawings as well. I don't know that much about the story of The Doors, so I'm not sure what this is. I think a lot of these comic books are the story, actually, of the band, how they became a band. But I know some of them as well are just like the band fight intergalactic monsters and weird stuff like that. So, you know, you can see there's a lot of, like, people looked at a picture, some of it almost looks like cel-shaded or rotoscoped almost, if you look at the way these drawings are done. Just basically looking at a picture of the musician, Jim Morrison, I assume. So that's really cool. Now this one is Rock Fantasy. You can see here. JM1RF14 it says. I'm not sure what those mean. This is January 1991. $3 for this one initially. So there's The Doors. Now we have Kiss. This is Kiss 2. And this is, I don't know if this is Kiss 1. Yeah, I think this is Kiss K1 up here, K1. And this is K2, Kiss 2. That blue is hard to see, but so here's 2 Kiss ones. Kiss fights the shadow of death, and Kiss 2. Now these look just so cool, you know. There's the real band members on the back. This looks sort of simplified like the one we just looked at, but that makes sense. It's rock fantasy as well, possibly even the same authors or illustrators did this. So just really neat, cool. Again, it's the band, really neat. This one's got some intergalactic monster thing on it. So yeah. Look, this is a Kiss comic. Love it. You gotta love it, right? That's so cool. Here's some sort of a tour book special. That's cool. Oh, look at these aliens. That's sweet. Very cool. Very cool. So that's Kiss 1 and 2. I love this Kiss logo here, how it's broken by these fingers. That's really neat. So there's Kiss 1 and 2. So far, all of these we've looked at have all been about the same quality. And I think that's pretty much going to hold true. Some of them have little bends in the corners like this one. There's a tiny little bend down here. I don't know if you can tell. Tiny little bend right there and some little notches. So they're not in like perfect mint condition, but they're all pretty good. So here's Van Halen. Now this is Revolutionary Comics as well. We looked at one of those earlier, I believe. Yeah, that was the original Queen one. So this is Van Halen, as you can see here. Who is that? That kind of looks like Faith No More. But I'm not an expert. That could be Van Halen. I don't know. That could be the same guys. It's probably the same guys. That's me being stupid. But doesn't that kind of look like Faith No More? Anyway, this one's in color. Look at those cool colors. Very neat. Not a huge fan of Van Halen, but, you know, whatever. It's cool. Jump is the only song of theirs that I really know. I'm really not a big fan of classic rock stuff a lot, but I might be going through some of that stuff on my channel here this year. All right, keep moving on. Whitesnake. Know nothing about this band whatsoever. Pretty sure they're hair metal. This is from April. I assume that means April 10th. What year is this from, though? This says 1990. Right here it says. You can pause and try to read that if you're interested. But really interesting. Ooh, very cool. So you can see this is pretty intricate with the drawings here. The illustrations, I guess. The artwork. Look at that. Very cool. Big snake there. That's awesome. Whitesnake. So that's Whitesnake. Here's on the back, Warrant. This is another, must be this is a copy of a different one. Or the front of a different one. So that's very cool. We'll continue on. The Best of the British Invasion 2, it says here. Also, The Kinks, a Dave Davies interview. That looks like Ozzy, but other than that, I don't know who these people are. Don't get too mad at me. Probably don't deserve having these awesome magazines, but you know, it is what it is. Really cool. So this one I assume has lots of different bands in it, so that's kind of cool. It would be fun to read, maybe, and just kind of see what's going on. So that's this one. I don't know. Got the British Union Jack on it. Kind of cool looking. Here is David Bowie, Ziggy Lives. This is one of the ones I looked up because I know people really like David Bowie stuff. David Bowie is one of those artists that I've never really gotten into. I only know songs from the latter part of his career. Obviously, I've heard, I think Major Tom is what the song's called. He also has an album called Heathens that I always meant to buy at the record store I used to work at, but I never got around to it, and then the store closed down and I never bought it. But I do have one or two David Bowie albums and some different kind of Japanese special editions and whatnot, but I've never really listened to them. But this just looks really cool, and I know people love Ziggy Stardust and this era of David Bowie's career. We'll show you a little bit inside because I know people like David Bowie a lot. This one looks like another one of the fantasy ones, which obviously makes sense with David Bowie's sort of like fantasy aesthetic and stuff with the labyrinth and whatnot. So very cool. And here we come across the first Metallica one. And I really like this. Look, you can see on the front here, Metallica fighting some, skeletons as they're crawling out of a crypt of a bunch of... Now this one you can see, this is Metal Thunder Comics. So that's very cool. The artwork in here, oh, it's a full cover. I don't want to stretch this too much, but look at this. Look at this. That is so cool. Love it. Now this was from what year? This one's got a little bit of not damage necessarily, but this was from 1992. It says number 2 up here, so I don't know if that's number 2 Metallica or just number 2 of the Metal Thunder comics. So Metallica in Step Dude and the Battle of Hallowed Ground. Oh, look at that. That is cool. These comic books are from the 90s, probably not very politically correct, but I don't think anyone in the metal industry really cared about that at this point. Not anybody, but. So here's Metallica. Very cool. I think that is so awesome. Very happy that I own this one. This is probably one of the coolest ones. Absolutely my favorite cover of all the ones we've seen so far. Very much reminiscent of Metalocalypse, which is really awesome. I'm going to keep the Metallica ones actually off to the side. Okay, now here we have... This is 60s San Francisco rock and roll. So we should get a bunch of different things in here. I actually watched a documentary recently that Jacob Dylan had made. What was it called? Shoot, I'll try to find it and put the name of the name of the documentary on the screen here. But it was really neat. It was about music from the 60s and the area in San Francisco that was just booming with creativity and all these different artists that would just collaborate. It was a really neat documentary. I'll try to find out what the name of it was and put it on there. He released an album of cover songs, and then an album that featured the cover songs and the original songs. So that's really cool. So here's the 60s. Oh, here's an Elvis Presley one, at least what it could look like. So that's kind of a neat looking one. Here we have one that's in an actual plastic sleeve with the cardboard backing, and I want to get that for all of these. I think they're important enough that I should invest in the cardboard backing and the cardboard sleeves and put the cardboard sleeves in all of these. I plan to do that. This is Bon Jovi. I'm not going to bother to take it out. Not a huge fan of Bon Jovi. To me, Bon Jovi when I was little was the "It's my life, it's now or never, I ain't gonna live forever," right? The pow wow, ba-doo, doo, pow wow. I enjoyed that song, but I had no clue Bon Jovi was a very famous band before that, as sort of like a more hair metal-y band. But I'm not a fan of hair metal, so I probably wouldn't appreciate this even if I did open it. But there it is, Bon Jovi. Okay, what do we got next? Sex Pistols. This is very cool. I think we saw this on the back of one of the other ones. Revolutionary Comics, 14th of August. That can't be August 14. I bet that's the issue. This might be issue 14. But this is from 1990. Yeah, Volume 1, number 14, first printing, August 1990. Price $1.95. Very cool. I know a lot of people enjoy the Sex Pistols. There's the artwork on the back. So let's take a look in here and just kind of see. I'm not very familiar with their catalog either. Very interesting, though. Very cool. So that's the Sex Pistols. Now we get, Guns N' Roses. One of my least favorite bands in terms of, well, I really don't know them very well. I guess I shouldn't shouldn't talk trash about bands I don't know that much about. I know there's songs that everybody knows. I've actually never heard the song Stairway to Heaven. I think that's them. Wait, or is that Led Zeppelin? They do have a slow song, though. What's it called? Is it Sweet Child of Mine? Something like that. Sorry, I'm so stupid. I don't know. But anyway, here's Guns N' Roses. Axl Rose, Slash. I know their pop culture stuff. The ads in here are actually probably more interesting than some of the contents themselves. This one's got a page with a little tear in it. Actually, it looks like it was torn pretty much throughout. So this one's probably not worth very much at all. Ooh, censored. Very cool. So there's Guns N' Roses. Let's see what we got next. Another Guns N' Roses. Okay. So this is the cover of this one, the back issue of this, and there's the two guns. The two guns, obviously, the revolvers must be part of their logo. But here's one. 100% unauthorized material. So this one is in color. Look at that. This one might be the story of how they became Guns N' Roses, the band. So if that's the case, that's really cool. So yeah, maybe it's not the exact same thing, is it? Just one's in color, one's not. No, it looks very similar though. Probably the same artist. They're both Revolutionary Comics, but probably maybe a year or two later. This one is 1990. This one is 1989. Really cool. So this one's a little bit older. Very neat. Aha! Metallica. Look, this one's dusty. This is the one that must have sat on top at some point. Very interesting. This must have sat on top of a pile. So here's Metallica. This one, really cool. Look at that. Awesome. The famous Metallica logo. The Band of the New Millennium. Here it says down here, writer, hopefully you guys can read this. It says, writer Todd Loren, pencils Larry Nadolski, inks Scott Goodell, letters Kurt Hathaway. Very cool. So I wonder if this is the story of how Metallica came to be a band. Probably. It kind of looks like it. Really interesting. Very cool. Hey, and Justice for All. Maybe this isn't how they became a band. Maybe this is how they became the biggest band in the world. Or the biggest metal band. So there's Metallica. Now here we have Megadeth. Oh boy, we got some dust on some of these. Megadeth, who I don't know anything about. I know one of the guys, Dave Mustaine, and that he was originally in Metallica and then left or got kicked out or something. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people like Lita Ford and Joan Jett. A lot of people like Metallica or Megadeth. A lot of other people don't like Megadeth. I don't know anything about them, so I'm impartial, but still really cool to have. Now here we have, oh yeah, ZZ Top, baby. I am a fan of ZZ Top. I'm probably one of the only people on the planet that prefers their more newer music to their older music. I love Mescalero. I love XXX, I think was there for their 30th anniversary. I think they released an album. Oh, they have such good songs. Really enjoy their stuff, especially their stuff from the 90s onward. So I wonder if this is how they became a band. That's what it kind of looks like. Very crisp and clear. Very nice. There we got some beards in the band. What they're known for, their vehicles. Very awesome. Let's see the year of this one. This one is 1994. So this one's a little bit later. Very cool though. Very cool. And now we have Def Leppard, a band I know zero about. Obviously, I've heard of them. I probably know one or two of their songs, but I don't know that they are Def Leppard. But yeah, that's Def Leppard. There you go. Sorry if someone's a big fan of Def Leppard, and I kind of skipped over that one, but... Aha! Jimi Hendrix. Very cool. Also an artist that I know only from pop culture, and I know his rendition of the national anthem and a few other songs of his. That song he had in The Watchmen. Yeah, but other than that, I really don't know anything about him. And I'm not a huge fan of the music that he made, the sort of like bluesy rock stuff, but there is some blues rock music that I like a lot, and probably all of it was very inspired by him. I'm not a huge fan of just like guitar soloing and like noodling on the guitar and like really impressive technical guitar work, which I know that's what he's known for, but also being very free-spirited with his music as well. So, you know, I think that's really cool, but that's not really my style. So this one looks like we got like the aliens and stuff in here, so that's really cool. This is obviously like a really cool fictional story. I don't think Jimi Hendrix ever traveled to other planets and like fought monsters and whatnot, but you know, I don't know. Very cool. Now here we have, sorry, I get to look over here and cheat and be like, oh, I know what's coming up next. This is Pink Floyd. With the prism thing, which I always associate with Pink Floyd. I don't really know any Pink Floyd at all, and Pink Floyd is one of the bands that I am planning on doing some reactions to their classic albums later on in the year. I really enjoy doing these Metallica albums, and I would love to do Pink Floyd, and I have a friend that is a fan of Pink Floyd. I think his dad was a big Pink Floyd fan, so I would love to maybe do some reactions to him. With him to some of their albums. Plus, a lot of the bands that I enjoy, one in particular that I'm enjoying right now a lot called Pure Reason Revolution, and I don't want to get into them or how much I'm just loving their music right now. But in a lot of the reviews for a couple of their albums, people say this is just like early Pink Floyd, just like early Pink Floyd. This is just like early Pink Floyd. And that really makes me want to hear some early Pink Floyd. The only Pink Floyd song that I know is Another Brick in the Wall. And I think that that's literally the only Pink Floyd song I've ever heard. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? Now, I also know that almost every Pink Floyd song is probably going to fade out, and I'll hate it because of that. But hey, I can maybe appreciate it for other reasons. I know they did a lot for recording technology and recording and high fidelity and stuff. So there we got some Pink Floyd. Very neat. Oh, I love the clean lines. You know, oh, look at that dude's face. That's so cool. This is neat. I like the artwork in these. Some of them are way more complex, but like, look at this. This is so simplistic and very cool. Like the refraction of light and stuff, it looks like. Oh, that's cool. I think I'm really going to like Pink Floyd a lot. I'm really excited to look into their catalog. Next we have Led Zeppelin Experience. This just is a cool cover. Really cool cover. Elvis on the back again. We've seen this same Elvis one before, but here is Led Zeppelin. Very cool. This is actually like sort of an olive green color. It doesn't look like that on this camera. I might have to adjust things. But very cool. Very simple. This is Led Zeppelin 3 of 3, unauthorized and proud of it. This is December, it says. 1993. So, December of 1993. This one might be a story of how they got some centaurs in space with some ladies. Got lots of cleavage and stuff in a lot of these pictures for all these bands. It's very interesting. I guess it's a sign of the times. Not that there wouldn't be cleavage in them if they were made now, but I don't know. Rock and roll, I guess, right? Okay, here we have Poison. Band I know nothing about. I think they sing, is it Kiss from a Rose or something like that? Not too sure. Don't know anything about them. I would look at this picture right here and I would say this is a band that I don't really need to experience. But you can't judge a cover you can't judge a band by its looks or whatever. I don't know. Some of the Japanese bands I really enjoy in the visual kai genre dress very similar to this, and they make fantastic music. So you really shouldn't judge based on what a band looks like. I try not to do that very often, at least. But there is definitely a very stereotypical look when it comes to hair metal, and hair metal, I have never heard a hair metal band that I enjoy. So, okay, let me move my chair forward a little. It was creaking. Anthrax. Very cool. This is like a Salvador Dali painting or picture, I believe. So that's kind of interesting. Anthrax, I know because they did that "Bring the Noise" song with that rap song. I really enjoy that. That was probably way after this. This is 1991. Anthrax, very cool. A band I don't know that much about. I recognize this guy. I think he was in a couple episodes of Z-Rock, maybe. But still, very cool. We still got more. This one's in a box. This is Genesis. Not a box, a bag. This is Genesis. Very cool. Phil Collins down here. And I think, was Peter Gabriel in Genesis? I'm not sure. Hey Google, was Peter Gabriel in Genesis?
According to Wikipedia, Peter Brian Gabriel is an English musician, singer, songwriter, record producer, and activist. He rose to fame as the original lead singer of the progressive rock band Genesis. Mm-hmm. After leaving Genesis in 1975, he launched a successful solo career with Salisbury Hill as his first single.
Okay, that's what I thought. Now, this may be after he left, but I'm not sure. I don't know his looks well enough to be like, oh, is this him on one of this? This is Phil Collins, obviously, but I don't know if one of these guys is. And I've never read any of these. I should point that out. I think when I first did get them, I may have read this Metallica one, but I don't remember any of it at all. But it looks familiar enough, unless there was another black cover here with this like a pattern sort of thing with the dudes on the front. But yeah, so I haven't read these. This looks like it might be the story of how they formed Genesis. Although we got a satyr right there. Kind of cool. So anyway, there's Genesis. Very cool. I know that's backwards because you flip it over and fold it, but for this, we'll just leave it the way that it was. Now we have Scorpions. I think I have a few Scorpions records because their album covers look so cool, but I don't think I've ever heard a single song of theirs. So I can't say. Don't know anything about the Scorpions. Here, let's take a moment to reset the table. Come on. Should have been paying attention to that more. Not that it matters. Scorpions, don't know anything about them. Here's some other ones on the back here. We have the Beatles, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, the early years. Very cool. Elvis. Bo Jackson. Bo knows. That's very cool. Blur this out, Patrick, when you're editing. Blur this one out. That just says Demi Demoness. Demi the Demoness. Heavy metal down here. And Stick Boy, whatever that is. So, very cool. Again, Scorpions. Don't know anything about them. If I should look them up, let me know. But if with everything I've mentioned, if I shouldn't, don't bother. Aerosmith 2. Look at these. This is a very cool. This is more like an oil painting or something. It's very cool, very detailed. On the back we have Kate Bush. Kate Bush. Isn't that running up the hill, keep running up that road. Places. Gosh, what a fantastic song. Hopefully that's Kate Bush and I'm not stupid. Hey, that's the dudes from that show, right? I should know what that's called. Party on Garth and what's from oh, look at this. These two pages are stuck together. So no one's ever read this. Because you couldn't, because these two pages are stuck together. And not just stuck, like they were printed as one page. Well, leave that like that. There you go, Aerosmith. Not a fan of Aerosmith, but I like some of their stuff, I guess. AC/DC. This one's still in the package. Very cool. Not going to take it out. Love this. This looks really cool. Very, very cool. One of my friends is a big AC/DC fan, and I've kind of made fun of him in the past for liking them so much. But the older I get, the more I realize the simplicity of their songs is actually really genius. So that's very cool. Here we have, oh yes, another Metallica one. Ooh, this one's wider. This one's got kind of curled. I should have had these on top. This one's bigger. That's very cool. Would this even fit inside one of these bags? They'd probably make different sizes. Obviously not. Wow. So now in full color, look at this. Wow, that's very cool. So what year is this from? This one's in color. This is from 1990. First issue. Wow, look at this. Wow, that is so awesome. That is just so cool. So there's some different stories in here, which is really neat. Here's some Megadeth. Oh, wow, that's so cool. Motorhead. That is awesome. Good old Lemmy Kilmister. Know all about him from all my watching. Triple H. Wow, that's very cool. $24 for 12 issues. 12 months. I absolutely would have loved that when I was a kid, but this is a little bit late or early for me. I didn't really discover music until I got to be in high school. So there's one of these big ones. That's very cool. Metallica one. I think the next couple are big ones like this. I pulled out two. So we got Aerosmith here. Very cool. It says Aerosmith / Rolling Stones. So is this Aerosmith and the Rolling Stones? Obviously that's dude from Aerosmith, Steven Tyler. I don't know who the guitar player is for. I assume if the Rolling Stones were on here, I would recognize Mick Jagger. Unless that's supposed to be Mick Jagger. Or that's Mick Jagger. I don't know. I don't know. Very cool. Hopefully you guys can see. Very awesome. I love this. These are so cool. There's the Rolling Stones, I assume, right? Satisfaction. There we go. The Rolling Stones. Very cool. Oh, Alice Cooper. That one would be cool. It's so cool that they did this. Imagine if they did this now with artists. That would be so cool. You get a Lady Gaga one month, and then you could get what? Nowadays, Sleep Token would be on one, maybe. A little Spirit Box. Okay, so here is Guns N' Roses in the big issue. Oh, I love these full pages. This is so cool. The way that they do this. A lot of like rainbow backgrounds. Very interesting. Very cool. Very visually unique. Bright colors, which is not necessarily what I would think of in like a heavy or like a rock, heavy metal rock. You know, that's just so cool. You know, it's just neat. I love these big ones. This might be the last one in there. Nope, one more. So here's Led Zeppelin. Very cool. This is another one of the big ones. So this one is not in color. This one's just black and white. Very cool, though. We got some Van Halen in here. So it looks like everyone features like different bands, but a bulk of it is the specific band that they mention. Yes, it's cool. Led Zeppelin, don't know really anything about their music at all. Another sort of hair metal band. I know they were a little earlier, but... Ooh, look at this. Black Sabbath. Very cool. Very cool. I would open this one and look at it, but I'm just going to leave it in there because it's still in the package. This is obviously not... I don't think this is new, but there's a nice piece of tape on here. It's folded over all nice. Very cool. It says plotted and co-written by bassist Terry Geezer Butler. There's Ozzy down there. And one of these dudes is Tony Iommi, I think him, but I don't really know that much about Black Sabbath. I do know, I did study when I was in high school the history, or how heavy metal music was created. I did it for like a paper or whatever, and I read the story about how he cut the tip of his finger off and then had to like wear something, and then they detuned his guitar to make it easier to play. And so like I know that stuff, and I've heard obviously some of the big famous Black Sabbath songs, but I actually have one of their records, Paranoid. But other than that, I don't know any Black Sabbath either. There's something that I should look into someday. I've heard some of Ozzy's more modern stuff, and I didn't really care for any of that. But, you know, it is what it is. So Black Sabbath, that's actually really cool. This is Rocket Comics. So this is a different logo. This is Rocket Comics. So now I'd really like to look in there. But I just want to leave it the way it is. So we'll go through them all one more time. Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. These are the big ones. Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, and Metallica. And I'm going to keep the big ones and the Metallica ones separate. Then we got Genesis, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Scorpions, Anthrax, Poison, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, Def Leppard, ZZ Top, Megadeth, Guns N' Roses again, Sex Pistols, Bon Jovi, San Francisco in the 60s, David Bowie, British Invasion 2, White Snake, Van Halen, Kiss 1, Kiss 2, Doors featuring Jim Morrison, and Queen. So that's my stack that I got for $2. Here's the Metallica ones. There you go. Okay, so there you have it. Here's the stacks, this big stack of comic books that I got for $2.50. Gone through all of them. That was really fun. I honestly had only looked through the first 6 or so. After we got past, like I remember David Bowie, Queen, Whitesnake, and the 2 Kiss ones. Other than that, I didn't really remember. I knew that there was one Metallica one at least in there, and actually that's the last one I looked up this morning. When I found that one and it had the monsters and stuff on the front, I was like, I got to do a video of this. So, yeah, this one. So cool. So, yeah. So I know I'm probably made some people really angry with the fact that I didn't know a lot about these bands, but this is just not from my era of music at all. But I absolutely understand and appreciate how awesome this stack of comic books is, and that how lucky I am to own these. So I absolutely get that. I know I didn't show a lot of the insides, but the purpose of this was just to kind of show what these were, point them out to everybody, let everybody see at least the covers and the backs, maybe flip through them a little bit just to see. But like I said, when I was looking some of these up on eBay, they weren't ridiculously expensive. I'm not a comic book guy. I don't have a ton of comic books, so I'm not sure how much the average sort of issue of a comic book is. But if it's something that's more of like a one-off story like this, I would assume that maybe it would be worth, per person would be willing to spend maybe a little bit more on it, especially because the covers are so cool. And if you're a big fan of one of these bands, how cool would it be to own a comic book of those bands? So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to put them back in here for now, and then I have one other cool thing that I'm going to show everybody. Make sure they're all in there nice. Put the metal edges back. And the G fan on top. So there's that. Now I had one other thing that I found when I was setting up for this video, and it's really cool. Oh, but first I should say, we're getting to the end of the video here now, so I'll just call this the outro. If you like cool old stuff like that, and you might be interested in stuff like, oh, look at this, a metal aluminum record, or these two cardboard records. Ooh, that's really interesting. Or this crazy self-recorded 78 RPM vinyl record. That's right, not shellac, vinyl. If these discs seem interesting to you, I have a whole video on my channel where I go through, record the contents of these discs, and then let everybody listen to them in as good a quality as I could get them. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please, 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 please go check out that video on my channel. I put a lot of effort into it, and I'm really proud of how it turned out.
David, you're a fine boy, and I'm proud of you. And this is what I want you to remember as you leave me. Your mother loved all that was beautiful and good. She had high ideals and the courage to live up to them. Those traits must be immortalized in you. You have a priceless heritage, son. Guard it carefully.
But as I was setting up for this video, I was looking for a blanket that I could use, and I was using this blanket here. And so in the drawer that I found this blanket, I found two things from my childhood that I think are so awesome I want to share them with you. I know I just went through and said I wasn't a big comic book fan, and that's absolutely true, but I loved the X-Men cartoon, the X-Men toys, the X-Men movies later on, and I found these two things. First of all, this really amazing X-Men shirt. Look at this. This is so awesome. I don't know if it says the year on the tag, but I was going to try to look. Just says made in the USA, fun stuff. But this was mine when I was little. I was an enormous kid, so this was probably when I was what? I don't even know. I'm terrible with that kind of stuff. But this has, Wolverine up here, Beast obviously up here, and then if you look on the back, we got Gambit, we got Beast. This is what's on the front, I believe, but Beast is covering this section. We got Cyclops. Hopefully you guys can see all this. Cyclops. This is just so awesome to me. We got the Marvel Comics logo up here on the sleeve. And the Marvel Comics logo over here as well. That's blue and yellow. This is black and yellow. Very cool. If they made this shirt today, I would absolutely wear it. I love it. I think it's really awesome. I'm really glad that my mom saved these over all the years. So I have that. And then I also found this amazing X-Men sweater. So this one has the pattern repeated over it quite a bunch. But this, I would guess, has to be from, what, 94, 95? Because we have, this right here. This guy. this is, what was his name? The guy that comes back in time. Forge, I think. Forge, because Cable was the guy that was chasing him through time, right? And I don't see Cable on here, but yeah, that's definitely Forge. Here is upside down with his gun. That's really interesting. But then we got Storm, Professor X, Wolverine, Beast again. How cool is this? Seriously, how cool is this? This would be vintage 90s, because that's when I got this and I guess wore it. So there you go. It's just something else that's really cool that I thought was neat that I wanted to share with everybody. I know that's not how you fold a sweatshirt, but that's how I'm folding that. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was sort of interesting for you. Pour one out for my awesome radio over here. We know it still works, but it for some reason was making my camera stop working, so I'm not going to plug it back in, but I'll probably keep it. It might go back on the shelf up there, but we'll have to just see. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully the comic books were interesting to you. No, I did that all because I was sort of prepping for my Metallica video, so if you're a fan of classic rock, you're a fan of a lot of those bands, classic metal, classic thrash metal, know that I got more Metallica reactions coming up here on my channel, plus a bunch of awesome stuff coming up that's new. I just listened to Gorillaz, Host, we got Ellie Goulding, Depeche Mode, Metallica, Death Stars, all sorts of really cool stuff coming up. So stay tuned, and hopefully I'll see you in some of those videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.